Hello there, guys, and welcome back to my channel for yet another Premier League live match preview by myself. And of course, I'm not by myself because I'm also joined by the man himself, Mr. Monster CFC. Bro, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Hope you're good as well. I mean, you must be happy. Chelsea, all good results, nice wins, back in the top four. You must be happy, man.
Exactly, we must be. Like things are going good right now. Things are going very, very good right now. And tomorrow we face another tough test. Leeds are one of them ones. Either you beat them 5-0 or you lose 5-0. It's kind of one of them. So it's going to be a tough test tomorrow, early kickoff as well. So I'm looking forward to that. But that's what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about Thomas Tuchel's comments about Christian Pulisic and the whole debate that's going on, well, everywhere in this week of rumours that he's leaving and Chelsea being interested in Coman, or I forgot his first name now. Anyways, Coman from Bayern Munich, the winger. And of course, Kai Havertz, Kai Havertz, the false nine. Does he play again? Do you play one up top like it was against Liverpool? Because that's kind of close to what Leeds do in a way of terms of the high line and everything. So we'll discuss all of that. If you're new here, please be sure to subscribe. That'd be massively appreciated. Check out Monster's channel, of course, down in the description below as well. Subscribe to him. That'd be sick. Smash the like button. Become a member if you fancy it. And by the way, I've clocked now. Last time out, someone in the chat constantly said, how can I become a member? Everything. And I was like, I thought this join button, because I mostly use desktop, guys. So I didn't realize this join button didn't actually exist on the phone. So now there is a link in the description where you can become a member, because the join button doesn't actually exist if you're on your phone. So I do apologize about that. Didn't clock. YouTube didn't tell me that was the case. I do apologize. So if you fancy that, click the link in the description or the join button underneath if you're on desktop. But yeah, enough waffle. Let's get Kingsley Coman. Yeah, exactly. Let's get into talking about tomorrow's game. And first of all, I guess we should probably talk about Thomas Tuchel's press conference. What did you make of that? Obviously, we learned that Thiago Silva and Tammy Abraham are out. The Tammy one, that's why I never read much into him not being in the squad, because it looked like his ankle was a bit of an issue for a couple of weeks already. Now Tuchel just made them more obvious, I think. But what did you make of that, first of all?
With the ankle injury, remember last season, Tammy kept, he was played through an ankle injury, if you remember. Yeah. I can't remember exactly what game it was. He picked up an ankle injury, and he was constantly played over and over again through that injury. I'm thinking it could have been a reoccurring thing. I'm happy. When people are complaining about Ziyech, Pulisic, Tammy, even Thiago Silva, Kante, about why they're not playing, I've always said, well, these are the guys that have had injuries, and they've been rushed back to as a sense. Remember, Tammy Abraham was rushed back, overplayed last season as well. Pulisic, kind of the same thing. Kante that's been happening with Kante for the past 3 years. What Tuchel's come and done now is he's believed in his squad, and he's now given these guys a lot more time to recover and get up to speed. And then when they're ready, he's brought them in the team. He did it with Kai Havertz. We've not seen Kai Havertz much until recently. And suddenly when he's come back now, he's looking like the Kai Havertz we knew he could be when he was at Bayer Leverkusen. Do you know what I mean? So one thing I would say about Tuchel that I would commend him on is that he has eased players in and not rushed them back from injury. He has utilized the squad a lot more. It's something we've needed to do for seasons. Lampard, as much as we love Lampard, and this is no slander towards him, but he has not utilized his squad. He's used the same 11 or 12 players over and over and over again. And when they get injured, he's rushed them back. We saw against Arsenal, Ben Chilwell and Reece James, they were rushed back into the team. And Tuchel hasn't done that. So I'm not worried with Tammy. Just let him, hopefully when he does come back, at some point in the season, he will come back fully recovered and he will be fully good and can go again. Same thing with Thiago Silva. Thiago Silva, remember, he's not a young kid. He's about 36 years old. Take our time with him. Our centre-backs are performing anyway, so he's not exactly needed right now. So I don't mind Thiago Silva being out as well. No, I don't mind.
Yeah, that's exactly what I thought as well on Tammy. Like, just make sure his ankle is fine. Like, there's no point playing through an injury, especially while we have Kai Havertz doing okay at that role, and Timo Werner obviously did it good against Liverpool. Not every game is like that, but like we touched on already, Leeds is probably the closest to it, if that makes sense. So for this one, we're not in desperate need for Tammy Abraham, and hey, we still have Giroud as well. The Thiago one is, to me, just a bit more worrying in terms of he's 36. He was kind of over the injury already, was already on the bench last time out. And now Tuchel said, yeah, he kind of had a setback and the muscle injury flared up again. That's kind of what you not want when someone's 36, for someone to have the tendency for a muscle injury to not heal out properly. Let's see. Who knows? Might be mind games. We might just be telling Simeone, yeah, he's out. And then come Wednesday, he starts against Atletico. Who the hell knows? Do you know what I mean? But that one I'm not too gassed about, shall we say. It doesn't matter for tomorrow. I wouldn't have played him tomorrow regardless, because I think the extra bit of pace that Christensen has over him, and in general just the good form that all of the back three as a collective have been in, there was no need to change it for tomorrow. But I guess the next thing we probably should talk about is Christian Pulisic. Obviously, you touched on it in terms of he's not playing, injuries and whatever else, and that is certainly true. It does worry me, not worry, but I find it a bit strange because all of the rumors that came out, I don't think they would have come out if Pulisic in himself and his people agreed that he needs to be protected. Do you know what I mean? If he didn't feel that he was ready to play, I don't think the rumors would have come out, because a lot of these kind of rumors, they always stem from the camp of the players, right? If he felt that Tuchel is right in not playing him all the time because of his injuries, then I don't think all the rumors about him possibly wanting to leave, whether that's true or not, doesn't matter really. But in terms of they wouldn't have even come out if he agreed with that, is my perspective on it. So I do think it is a bit weird that he's not got a start at all. And obviously, I've spoken about this in my last stream, I think, where I'm like, yeah, with the form that Werner is in, the Werner gets to play all the time, no matter what, no matter how bad or good he plays, and Pulisic doesn't even get a chance, is a bit strange. And I'm not saying start him every game now, but surely he has to be fit enough to play a 60 minutes, is my opinion. So that's what I find a little bit weird.
With Pulisic, you say that, but remember, Tuchel's first 2 or 3 games, if I'm not wrong, Pulisic was injured then as well. It is a bit tough, because even when we've seen Pulisic come on, he's not even looked fully up to speed. With someone like Pulisic, you have to take your time with him, innit? Because I'll tell you something about footballers. Even when they're not ready, footballers want to play. So I'll tell you this: a footballer will have a broken leg and still want to play. If you were a manager, you've got a player now. You ask him, "Do you want to play?" And he's literally, his legs hanging out, broken, done. He would probably say, "Yes, I can play, coach. I'm ready." Sometimes the coach has to protect their players, and then when they're ready, they will be able to play. Pulisic, I didn't think he was necessarily ready, because every time I saw him come off the bench, I know one of the games he only came on like 2 minutes or whatever. But sometimes it's like, when you're ready, I will put you on. Remember with Kai Havertz, he's not been played because Tuchel felt he wasn't ready, and suddenly when he was ready, you saw a different Kai Havertz. You saw the Kai Havertz we've all been waiting to see.
Yeah.
Pulisic, when he's ready, or when the manager feels he's ready, he will play him, and then we will have an amazing footballer back. The Pulisic we saw last season. I just think there needs to be a bit of patience in it. Just a little bit of patience, and when he's ready, trust me, Tuchel will play him, because Pulisic on his days unplayable. Do you know what I mean? So I think there just needs to be a little bit of patience with Pulisic. We know the kind of player he is. We know, this is not meant to be any disrespect towards him, but he's got glass hamstrings. He does get injured quite often, so we have to take our time with him, innit? So I'm not too worried about Pulisic. I believe he will get his time. I just think there needs to be a little bit of patience with him.
For sure, and that's kind of what Tuchel hinted on as well today. Not only did he say kind of the media, the fans need to have a bit of patience. From what I read from it, how Tuchel worded things, it also sounded to me like he called a bit of patience from Pulisic himself.
Yeah.
Like, don't overdo it. Exactly like you touched on. Players always want to play. And I agree with that, but it still becomes an issue if they don't play and they don't agree with not playing, they'll still want to leave. Whether it's the better decision for them not to play or not, if they want to play and it triggers them that they don't, then they'll try to force a move anyway. Do you know what I mean? So that's kind of where it's a risk and reward kind of situation for Chelsea and for Tuchel, because, we don't play him, he might want to leave. We do play him, he might get injured. So it's like, what do you do? And
you have
I guess
protect your player. I mean, who's gonna want to, even if say you want to leave, who's gonna want to buy him if he's injured? Do you get what I mean? There has to be some kind of patience with a player like Pulisic, of Pulisic's caliber. We all know he's great and an amazing player. We saw it at the back end of last season, against Man City, against Liverpool. He scored a perfect hat trick against Burnley. But he needs to understand that the kind of player he is. You're not always fit. So
yeah.
I'm sorry. Like when Tuchel first came in, you were still injured. You can't just demand to get in the team straight away. You've barely been fit.
That's the weird one as well. And then obviously he was fit, and then he had the calf's tight again, and we need to let him out again. And that's kind of been the problem with him. Like I said, my frustration from it comes that the rumors are coming out, and I read that, like I said, as a thing he's not happy with the situation. Doesn't necessarily mean that he actually wants to leave. He just wants to play, and I think they're trying to get him to play. If you get where I'm coming from, but it's still a situation where I'm like, I do see where he's coming from. When he sees Werner playing the position that he play, and he sees what Werner is doing, and he knows how good he is, and he's as confident as he is probably in himself, Pulisic, I get why as a player that will frustrate you. I understand it. Like I said, he started the Barnsley game, so he could have started 1 or 2 Prem games, if you ask me. I'm not saying starting week in, week out, but I think he could have played a little bit more than he has so far.
Yeah. Maybe he should have played. But the question is, even though, as you mentioned, Werner as well, but then when Pulisic comes on, has he really... he's played more than just 2 minutes in some of the games. Some of the games he's played about 20 or 30 minutes. Even in those games, has he really impressed you?
No, that's true. No, you're definitely right with that. And that's why I think it's so strange that Tuchel keeps going on about, I know how good he is off the bench. I'm like, well, he hasn't bloody shown it. I ain't seen that yet. Ever since he's taken over anyway. So it's like, not sure what to make of that. It's a weird one. Like, obviously, like I said, there was a lot of rumors in the summer that, big clubs are alert, or have been alerted by his lack of game time, whatever, Manchester United, even Man City, Bayern Munich. And obviously then the whole Kingsley Coman, rumors came out. It's well, just to clear this up, by the way, I do not want Kingsley Coman instead of Christian Pulisic. Kingsley Coman is a great player, but he's arguably even more bloody injury prone than Pulisic. So no, thank you.
You're going from cookie legs to Kit Kat legs. You know what I mean? It's the same thing. There's just no point going. The only criticism of Pulisic is injury prone. There's no point going from Pulisic to another player who's injury prone. It just doesn't make any sense at all. If we are going to sell Pulisic, which I don't think we should, but if we were, then you need to go buy a player that's durable, that we can rely on. As great as Pulisic is right now, we can't rely on him. And I say that because he's not always fit. You can't rely on a player that's not always fit. Not saying he's not a great player. When a player's not playing, you can't rely on a player that's not playing, can you? So if we were to get rid of Pulisic, it has to be someone who you can rely on. But hopefully, listen, down the line, he can go stay fit and go on to be a great player. I don't think he's going anywhere anytime soon anyway. He will be here next season. So I just think people need to calm down a little. Do you know what I mean? Just calm down.
Exactly. And even though I don't agree with Kamal's statement, even obviously I know you're joking, but that just kind of reiterates the point. Pulisic is a huge player for Chelsea. They gave him the number 10 last summer. What was it? 8, 9. No, of course it doesn't. But it's still, they gave it to him from the 22. And our last 10, obviously William, scrap that, was Hazard, right? And so we like to have that it's a big deal to change your number from something to the 10, I think. Especially when it's kind of taking over from Hazard, if that makes sense.
Remember as well, before you go, he was injury prone last season as well. Remember, he had a long, lengthy injury. The only reason why we saw him was because we had a lockdown. Otherwise, he would have, majority of those games he did play post-lockdown. Had there not been a lockdown, he would have missed all of them. So if not for lockdown, that saved his season, basically. He would have been out for probably the whole ending of the season.
No, you're definitely right. It's just, obviously people talk a lot about, Werner is only playing because of the big money signing. And first of all, Pulisic cost us more money than Werner. Second of all, Pulisic is a much bigger revenue stream to the club than Werner because of the American and English-speaking market, which is obviously much bigger than Germany and the German-speaking market. plus is younger, and also he's like, well, why would he be less important than Werner? Like that just doesn't make any sense. Even the performances make him arguably like when he's been at his peak. You know, his peak performances for Chelsea. Even though you're right, he wouldn't have had those without lockdown. They were still higher than what we've seen from Werner so far. So it's a weird one. I fully agree with you. I don't think it's going anywhere. Before we get into talking about Leeds more, just because we're already on the topic, I want to ask you one question. If you had to pick one of our forwards, that includes wingers and striker, if you want push Mount and Havertz into that, do you. But if you had to, well, not had to, if you were to sell one of them when we say we get Haaland, because we can't keep everybody and get Haaland, not in terms of financial reasons, but because of, well, we already don't get enough of our forwards game time, so let alone we get another one, if that makes sense. Who would be the one that you get rid of the most, or most likely to get rid of? And Giroud is obviously one in terms of age.
Yeah, Giroud is gone anyway. So
do you think it's gone regardless?
Yeah, Giroud. Well, if I'm being honest with you, like if I'm being realistic, knowing Chelsea, knowing the club we are, Giroud is gone. But the next person in line to go, it will be Tammy Abraham. If we're being really honest, I think the club are trying to convince him to stay, but at the same time, they're not going to force him. They're not going to give in to his wage demands. So the next person in line to leave will be Tammy Abraham, if we're being realistic.
I wouldn't necessarily disagree. My perspective on it is, if Tammy is okay being a backup, keep him. But I presume that he has the drive in himself to not want to be a backup, and that's why he will leave probably. Because I would be very happy with Tammy as my second choice striker. I would be very pleased with that. I think he's good enough to do that.
Yeah. It'll be third choice, because obviously Werner will be second choice, isn't it? Whether he deserves that or not, that's down to the manager or whatever. But I think just based on how Chelsea are as a club and how the hierarchy and all that stuff works, the board, Werner will be second choice and Tammy will be third choice. It is down to Tammy to decide whether he wants to stay or not. Listen, if Tammy decides to sign the contract Chelsea offer him, then it will be Giroud, and that's that. It will be done. Tammy will still remain. I don't think the club will sell him. It will just be Giroud leaving, and then Haaland comes in, goes all the way to the top of the pecking order. Werner comes second, Tammy comes third, and that's it. That's what will basically happen. But it all depends on if Tammy signs that contract or not. Otherwise, Tammy will be out the door for sure.
That's it, because you said obviously that Tammy will be third choice because of Werner. It's weird because I don't really see Werner as a striker. I know he played it against Liverpool, but there is so few games in our seasons where, under Tuchel at least, he will actually play a 9. Almost don't see him as that. Like I see it right now, we have 2 strikers, 3 if you include Havertz. I don't really include Werner as one of them. So my personal opinion would be get rid of Werner. You get the most money out of it, and then you don't have this whole debate anymore of who do we play, what formation do we play, how do we fit Werner into this, because he's not a striker, but he's not a winger, so we have to play this inside forward kind of crap, or 2 strikers every game. And I don't like that we're forced into that because we have one player that can't play the 2 most obvious positions, a winger and a striker. Like, it kind of triggers me. And I know I have a bit of an agenda against Werner. I know everyone says it, and you're probably not even wrong. But I just think it hampers us too much with our tactical flexibility when we're forced to play him all the time.
I agree with you on that one. I feel like, but the thing is as well, if it's more likely we are going to give Werner another season.
Yeah.
But if Werner kicks off the next season and scores 20 to 30 goals, then you can forget about him leaving, number one. But also, one thing I would say is that Werner offers more. Even if he's not scoring, he offers more than Tammy does if Tammy's not scoring. If Tammy's not scoring,
for sure.
If you say both of them are not scoring, who offers more? It's Werner. Werner makes runs that will take defenders away and will create space for other attackers. Werner, sometimes he gets assists, so he will take players on, run past them and get assists even after having a stinker. Tammy doesn't do anything of that ilk. If Tammy's not scoring, majority of times he's having a terrible game. So if he's not scoring the rest of the game, he's horrible. I'm sorry, and it's how it is.
No, you're fully correct. You're fully correct. It's just in my comparison, it's not really comparing Tammy's importance with Werner's importance. It's more like having Werner means one of Pulisic or Hudson-Odoi don't play, or both don't play. And everything that Werner gives us, if he doesn't finish, Pulisic and Hudson-Odoi do better. The assisting, the winning penalties. especially Pulisic, won us loads of penalties, even the couple of games he played this season and last season. So that the fact that Werner won a 7 penalties, that's great, and he does a really good job at that. Still, Pulisic also does that. So I'm like, Pulisic does what Werner does, just more and better. So I'm like, if we keep Werner, that just keeps him out of the team. And I know maybe we just drop Werner. Fine, I'm okay with that. But I don't know. It's like when if we get a proper good 9 like Haaland, I don't see the need for having Werner. I'd rather have a proper winger, if you see where I'm coming from, rather than comparing it with Tammy, because obviously Werner does more for us than Tammy.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like this, the club being the club, they see Tammy as more expendable because they didn't spend much on him.
Yeah.
Easier to sell to a Premier League team as well. Like if Tammy becomes available today, a lot of Premier League teams will go in and buy him for a good price as well. You know, they didn't spend anything on him, so it'll be free. It's free money in their eyes. So yeah, I see Tammy being the one in it.
And to be honest, like, it's fair. I don't even disagree. You could argue that's maybe one of the problems we have at Chelsea, the fact that, you know, we're always more happy to get rid of youngsters because we didn't have to buy them than we are of signings who we spent money on. Even though, if you actually think about it, we spent a lot more money on the academy than we did on signings. Just obviously, you don't spend them on individuals. It's a weird one. Like I said, I still agree with your opinions. I'm just saying maybe it's a small issue regardless.
Laurenz, I'm not going to lie to you.
Go on.
Not many people would want to say this, but I'm just going to be totally honest.
Go on.
Chelsea's academy has never been. Chelsea never made the academy to feed the senior team. The academy has always been there. We're going to get the greatest talent in Europe, and then we're going to produce. You know, we're going to bring them up, put them in the development squad, get them playing, and we're going to sell them on and use the money to buy bigger name players. That's always been Chelsea's objective. The only reason why you saw Mason Mount, Reece James, Tammy Abraham, who else, get into the first team last season is because of the transfer ban. No one wants to be honest about it, but it's an absolute fact. Chelsea do not have an academy to feed the senior team. The academy is there to basically, it's a money thing, isn't it? They get the best in Europe to sell or to loan out and to bring the funds in to get the biggest names in Europe back into the first team. That's just how the model's been. That's how the model will always be.
Yeah, I mean, we've had this discussion. I'll get to you, Pice, in just a second. Cheers for coming on, by the way. Just to clear this up, guys. Monster was doing a stream on his own channel, which I didn't realize. And obviously then he's busy. He didn't reply to my DM. So I was like, wait, did something happen? Is he okay? Is he going to be available to come on? So I texted like 2 or 3 people, wait, can you help me out last second just in case Monster doesn't come on? And then Pice was like, I was like, yeah, you could come on regardless. So that's why Pice is here. He will also be back for the player ratings tomorrow, obviously. But just quickly to your point, we've kind of discussed or spoken about this or even disagreed, I think, on Lewis's channel about this once. My stance is I agree with you. But we still try. If 1 or 2 every couple of years is good enough for the first team, then we'll still try to push them in. So it's still it's a small part of the objective, not the main one. I agree the main one is to make money. But I still think they're like, okay, the main one is to make money. But if we happen to find a huge talent that is good enough for the first team, they're not exactly going to be like, I don't care anyway, even though they're good. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
like Ruben, without the injury, Ruben was firmly in that first team and wouldn't have dropped out of it anymore. And that's like just one example. And I think, would we have really signed a right back when we had Reece James? I don't know whether we would have done. I mean, sorry, wanted to sign, and it didn't happen.
Yeah, to actually say on that, because there was actually a rumor at the time that Chelsea wanted to buy Hakimi. But the reason why they didn't buy Hakimi was because there was a youth player that, you know, had stopped us from buying Hakimi. Obviously, that youth player was Reece James, innit? So on that sense, you are completely correct. Reece James obviously performed at a high level and broken, and I think he probably would have broken to the first team. But then we're talking about 1 or 2 or 3 out of how many more? Out of how many? Do you know what I mean? There's so many, yeah. So it's just basically that. Like, so if it's only 2 or 3 out of a good every year, a good 20, 30, then that just means the club's using it to fund whatever transfer they need to or balance the books or whatever in it. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, it's just the way it's Chelsea's culture. But people might tell you otherwise, isn't it?
Exactly. I saw Pice's tweet about Mason Mount earlier saying that he was wrong about him. I still don't agree with RMB saying Mount is generational. I think that's stretching it a bit, or just overusing the word generational. I also will say I love Mason Mount, big guy, and I think he will probably be Chelsea captain eventually. But if Ruben doesn't get injured, does Mount even play right now? I don't know. Probably not. And that's a harsh reality, sadly. I don't know if Mount ever gets into the position of having as many games as he does without Ruben's injury, regardless of whether Frank comes in or not. Because would they play together? I don't know. I don't know. But that is a whole different debate for a whole different day that we might never have because it's kind of pointless. So let's just move on and let's get talking about Leeds. So far, Pies, we've only really spoken about a bit of press conference stuff, a bit of Pulisic stuff, and a bit of who do we get rid of if we get Haaland, just because we happen to speak about Pulisic and Werner and whatever else. So now let's get into Leeds. One of the weirdest teams you can play against. Tuchel said, they play high intensity. They try to win every game. They've only drawn 2 games all season. And like I said in the beginning already, there's 2 ways a game against them goes. You either win 5-0 or you lose 5-0, or you have Timo Werner and you miss 6 chances and you only win 3-1. But, other than that, it goes either 5-0 one way or 5-0 the other way. But it's going to be a good game anyway. Obviously, Chelsea haven't been at Ellen Road in a very long time. Sadly, there's no fans. Would have been, not that I probably would have been there, but it's an away day I still always wanted to go to from when I learned about the Leeds Chelsea history. So, that's one thing. But we're taking on a team that shouldn't be underestimated, aren't we, Pice?
Yeah, we are, man. First off, just want to say hello to the chat. Monster, Laurenz, you're all good, guys. Sounds like a good stream so far. So, in terms of Leeds, I think I'm kind of more confident because they do play the high line. So, I'm hoping we can get, Werner and maybe even Havertz. It's going to be interesting because, who starts up top for this game? I'm not sure if you guys have talked about that, but
not yet. No.
I mean, it could be the Liverpool game where he goes Werner striker, maybe rest Kai for the Champions League game because obviously that's coming up. Atletico Madrid pretty much straight after, a few days after, or he could go Havertz false 9 again. So it's going to be interesting, but I think we should be confident because of the high line. I think especially if we play Jorginho, you see what he did against Liverpool with the balls over the top and stuff. So I think it will be interesting. Obviously, I think Jorginho will play because he's suspended, right, for Atletico Madrid. So I mean, I'm quietly confident, but I would say out of our upcoming fixtures, the next few ones, I'm more worried about this than any of the others, just because I think Leeds obviously do play good football. Well. What's that?
More than Atletico as well. You're more worried about this.
Oh no, I'm talking about Premier League, our next few Prem games. So I think Leeds can give us a good test. I think they'll have more shots on goal than the other teams we've faced. But I mean, I don't know saying that as well because our defense has been rock solid. So I think it's going to be a really interesting matchup. But I'm just hoping we can. I hope this is the game where we score 2, 3, 4 goals. Really put us finish our chances. Just put a stamp down. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I completely agree, and that's the debate we're going to get into right now, and especially with Thiago Silva out. I mean, kind of the defense of the team is kind of almost set in stone. So let's just start the almost predicted 11 / what we would like to see with the forwards, because that's the most interesting one. I titled it, I put it in the thumbnail, everything. Do not drop Kai Havertz. I don't care. Atletico Madrid, whatever your plan is for it, play him 60 minutes tomorrow then, but do not drop him. I think he needs to start again. I think we need to get as much confidence in the guy as we possibly can. And also we need to use his great game against Everton and hope he can replicate that again to just help other people around him. Obviously, you made a very good point, Price, in terms of does Werner start up top like he did against Liverpool, because it would probably work. But I still think start Havertz up top and start Werner off his left. Usually, you guys know, I wouldn't even start Werner full stop. But Leeds is one of those games where I would. And I think the link up that Havertz and Werner can provide. And in terms of Werner can still make the deep runs like he did against Liverpool off the left. And Werner can pull Havertz can pull centre backs by dropping and then can have the link up play. And then you probably have Mount on the right just because he's also suspended against Atletico. Is my front three. Will Tuchel do that? We'll get into that in a minute. Let me get to Monster first. Would you agree with that? Would you do something different? What would be your front three? Presuming that we'll still go with the 3-4-2-1 formation.
I would start Havertz because obviously I need him getting minutes in for the Atletico game. You know what I mean? I will start Werner as well because he suits that game. He suits the Leeds game.
Yeah.
Now, the third attacker, it's a bit of a tough one because you've got Ziyech. You've got, I mean, I'll choose from a pool of Ziyech, Mount, and what's it called? Ziyech, Mount, and Pulisic, innit? Now,
Probably, yeah.
I would.
Well,
It makes sense.
You could say Hudson-Odoi. He played in part of the front three in the last game.
Hudson-Odoi can play there, or White as a right wing back as well. I mean, I don't think him playing that right wing back in this game is not. I think it's a good idea. But also you got Reece James. But the thing is, it makes sense to start Mount as well because obviously he's not going to play the Atletico Madrid game. So, and plus, Leeds are that type of team where you might need a Mount type of player. So maybe I would go with Mount. Yeah, maybe I'll go with Mount.
Like that's my thinking as well. And Flyers put it here in the chat, ladies and gentlemen. By the way, if you want to become a member like Flyers, there's a link in the description or a join button depending on which device you're watching this. So do that. That'd be massively appreciated. Use the super chat function if you want to support the channel. But of course, you don't have to. But subscribe if you haven't already. We have nearly 200 people watching. Big ups to yourselves. And smash that like button. YouTube loves likes on things. So just smash the like button. They will recommend it to more people. So just do that. That'd be massively appreciated. But yeah, Tuchel said in this press conference, he was asked specifically by, I think, Olivia. So she's the only one that asked genuine good question. No, she asked about the how can Christensen and Thiago Silva play together. The only good questions that are asked are by Olivia. Big up to her. But one other good question this time around, even though it was kind of already answered before, where does he see Kai Havertz? And he actually said as a 9 or a 9.5 kind of false 9-ish, even more than a 10. He doesn't want it behind the ball. Is that a dig at Lampard? Maybe not. Who knows? But definitely doesn't see him as an 8. So some people in the chat that said already, oh, Havertz isn't a striker. Well, to some extent, Mr. Tuchel disagrees with you, and at the end of the day, he's the one making those decisions. But Pice, what would be your front three for tomorrow's game?
I think I would probably go with Werner reluctantly because I do want to see Pulisic make a start, just because I want to see him, try and get his form back. And I think both Werner and Pulisic would work against a high line. I just think maybe Werner, obviously because he's played more games, maybe it's the more sort of sensible option, even though he hasn't been scoring and stuff. It's always a risk just to put a player in that hasn't been playing like Pulisic and then, expect him to do wonders. He could very easily just get subbed off, So I think I probably would go Werner on the left, Havertz, false 9, and then I would probably go with Mount on the right, sort of right forward position. But again, I mean, it's interesting because if he does want to give Pulisic a start, then Mount could easily play left forward like Liverpool and then Pulisic go on the right. But my front three would probably be Werner, Havertz and Mount. And then in terms of Hudson-Odoi, I see people talking about him a lot. I think right wing back as well will be where he plays, I think. But, I mean, talking about right wing back, it's not like everyone thinks it's kind of like this defensive position. Like his average position really is kind of like in the right wing spot. Yeah. So like, I mean, if you play him right wing back, it's going to cause all sorts of problems. Him and Mount on the same side, Hudson-Odoi potentially overlapping Mount and then putting crosses into the box to Havertz, which suits him. I'm not saying we'll be spam crossing, but it's definitely an option. We had the goal last game where Hudson-Odoi put a ball into Havertz and then it was disallowed. So I think we will have enough to win the game. I think we'll cause them a lot of problems on the attack. And, notoriously they don't have a good defence. So I'm just hoping we can bag a few goals, to be fair, yeah.
Exactly. And because obviously you mentioned that right now about Hudson-Odoi and right wing back, there is an interesting, like almost quote by Tuchel, if people paid attention to, after the Manchester United game when at half time, he took Callum Hudson-Odoi off, who started at right wing back, and brought Reece James on. And then post game said, we tactically changed from a back 4 to a back 5. Because when Hudson-Odoi plays right wing back, we defend in a 4-4-2. While when we have Reece James, we defend more in a 5. So there is a genuine tactical difference whether you have Hudson-Odoi, a very attacking right wing back, or Reece James. It's not just like for like replacement in the same position, and people need to see that that's a significant difference. In Reece James, we defend more as a 5, and I guess just quickly, do we actually think because in the end we all agreed on actually the same front three that we would like to see? Do you think Tuchel will go with that as well? Let me go with you first, Monster. Do you think Tuchel will start those 3, or do you think he'll pick a different one?
Wait, what was the 3 you mentioned?
Havertz as a false 9, Werner off his left, Mount off his right.
Do you know what? Something tells me Christian Pulisic will start this game. Something in my mind just says after all the speculation and everything, Pulisic is going to play. I don't know. It's weird. But for now, I guess I'm going to say, yeah. I'll just go with, yeah. I'll just go with what you, that lineup for now, yeah.
Fair. I think if we're going to start Pulisic in any game, I think I would rather Atletico, because that's why I see Werner as being a bit pointless. So that's why I'd rather just start Pulisic instead of Werner against Atletico. And realistically, we've spoken enough about Pulisic's injury issues. He won't start both. So, and if I'd have to pick him for one of them, I'd rather Atletico, just because I feel like he's more of an asset against them than Werner compared to against Leeds, if that makes sense. But Pies, do you think he'll start those three that we talked about, or do you think Pulisic might get one, or what do you reckon?
I kind of agree with Monster. I do have this like slight, feeling with, maybe Tuchel kills all the rumours and just starts Pulisic, and then everyone shuts up about him. The media won't ask any questions, and if he plays bad, then Tuchel, doesn't really have to say much because he plays bad. Everyone knows that. Tuchel doesn't have to answer any questions if he plays bad, so it will just be down to Pulisic, his own performance. So I think he could kill the rumours and do that, but realistically, saying he has to be patient kind of makes me still think like he will continue on the bench and maybe come off the bench. But I don't know. It's so difficult because how many times have we tried to predict a Tuchel lineup and then he goes with something completely different? You know what I mean? Like, it's very hard to do. Like, it's just not like Lampard or Sarri when you can name pretty much the whole 11 and be spot on every single week. Tuchel always has things up his sleeve. He's a very tactical manager. You mentioned there, Hudson-Odoi came off, and Reece James came on. Things like this will happen with Tuchel. He's tactical. He changes things by the minute, by the second, by what he sees. So fans shouldn't be surprised if the lineup's different each week, or all of a sudden we do a new formation, or like as I said to you last time, people were surprised that Zuma started and Alonso started last week. I wasn't surprised. Like, it makes perfect sense with the aerial threat of Everton, and that worked well. So who knows? But I think Werner probably will start just because Pulisic just, first off, lacks confidence, and second off, just lacks minutes. But I would like to see him come off the bench more because, coming on for like 2, 5, 10 minutes, that's not going to help anyone, is it? So, maybe Havertz gets like 60, 65 minutes in the bank for Atletico, and then he comes off, and maybe Werner goes up top and then Pulisic to the left.
Well, exactly what I was going to suggest. Yeah,
that's something that I could see happening in the game, and that would make perfect sense because you have three, even Mount's quick. You then have 3 very, very quick attackers. So it's going to be interesting, but I think we have a lot of options, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that's exactly, and I also think Leeds is probably the last game that Christian Pulisic's hamstrings and calves and adductors, and that's probably the last game they need, the intensity that we require against Leeds. I just hope, first of all, that we don't go into a slump after beating Leeds like we did last time out when we played them, because we decided we need to outrun them to beat them, which no other team than us has outrun them, but still plenty of teams have beat them. So we can just play differently to beat them. It's great if we outrun them, but not if it ruins our legs for the next 2 weeks or month or whatever.
Lampard, sorry to interrupt, but Lampard really dropped the ball on that one. I remember watching him talking about it, and he said he was, he was like proud to say he wanted them to outrun Leeds and things like that. Like, that's not that's not what you do, man. They're not meant to outrun or, continue. You have to play smart. And it really showed where he was at in terms of management, that he had to learn a lot. And it probably did affect some of our players because a lot of the time, some of them just look burnt out. Do you get what I mean? Plus, he was constantly playing the same players over and over again. He had absolutely no trust in his squad. Do you get what I'm saying? So he has to learn from that.
For sure. And that's probably where it comes from, that Mount was then, especially in that tough period, by far our best player, because he's the only one that could physically handle it. Because all the others don't seem to have a body like Mason Mount, who are just absolute Duracell batteries that never run out. And Kante seemed to have run out. Obviously, Mount is 22. Let's see if at 29 he ends up a bit like Kante. Bloody fingers crossed, touch wood, he doesn't.
It doesn't even have to happen because look at Liverpool. One thing is, when you're overplaying people over and over again for a space of time. It doesn't even have to be when he's 28, 29. It could be in the next year or two. His body starts to become susceptible to injuries. When Tuchel's rested Mount, I've seen some people complaining about it and things like that. I'm always like, bro, there's something called burnout. You don't want your players burning out. There's times where you have to rest your players. The narrative is that Chelsea can't win without Mount. But if you look at it, even though it's a small sample, Chelsea have won or drawn. We've been undefeated without Mount. So we can play without Mount. Do you know what I mean? We can play without anyone in our team. Thiago Silva even will win without him as well. So sometimes some of these players, they have to be rested at times for their own good. Do you know what I mean? It's down to the manager, because if like I said earlier on, even if you ask a player, are you ready to play? 9 times out of 10, in fact, 10 times out of 10, even if they got a broken leg and their leg's falling off, they're going to say, yeah, I can play. I'm ready, even though they're not ready. So it's down to the manager to, to, do what's best for the players, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah, no, for sure. And just to quickly, and that brings us on to talking about the wing backs anyway, by Fire Red. Can I ask a question? If Lampard had started or played Hudson-Odoi in that right wing back role, everyone would say he's out of his depth, but everyone is so cool and chilled since Thomas done it. Now, I would like to take you back to when that lineup against Wolves was announced, and no one was even sure what formation this is. So no one even clocked straight away that Hudson-Odoi is playing right wing back here. And then when the game started and we saw it, we played all right, and he was our best player in the day. That's why no one criticized it. If, Tuchel came out and told us, yeah, Hudson-Odoi is playing right wing back, I have no idea whether it will work, then people would have criticized it then already. But then he would have played well and no one would have criticized it. If that's how he goes with Frank, he does it, people might question it in the first lineup, but then Hudson-Odoi is the best player in that role, then no one question it for Frank either. That's how it goes. If Frank does it and it doesn't work, then people question it. But people would have questioned it the same if Tuchel did it and it didn't work. But I guess that takes us on to the wing backs. Both of you guys have hinted on that you guys think and would like to start Hudson-Odoi as the right wing back. Probably I'm just putting words into your mouths now, but saying the best way to beat Leeds is to go at Leeds rather than like sit and whatever else. Just go at them, and we might concede 1 for the first time in God knows how long, but we just score 4 or 5 instead, kind of thing. I would probably agree with that. But who would be your wing backs? So obviously on the one side, like I said, probably Hudson-Odoi, how you sounded a minute ago. But what about on the left? Chilwell, Alonso, what you're saying, Pice?
Oh, Chilwell for me, absolutely. Just naturally the better player, quicker. I think he will suit the intensity of the game more than Alonso would. I just think, especially last game, because Alonso played, I think Chilwell comes back in. I think he's capable of playing this and Atletico. I mean, why not? They're professional footballers at the end of the day, so I don't see why he can't. Especially after he's just had a rest. So yeah, I would say Chilwell and Hudson-Odoi. And just on that last comment of what like the guy said about Hudson-Odoi and Lampard, like I'm kind of getting annoyed with like people saying right wing back. Like technically, I know he's playing right wing back, but it's not like he's not defending. Like it's not his first port of call is not to defend. Like yes, he's been better defensively, and he has to get back in the shape of the formation when we're not on the ball, but his first port of call really has been to attack and get up the pitch. So I don't think people will have a problem with Lampard, even if he did that. If Hudson-Odoi attacked loads, I just think what people would have a problem with is if Hudson-Odoi was just sitting, right wing back and just actual defending, not going forward. I think that's when people would have a problem, but that's not the case. He's going up the pitch so much and he's still creating lots of chances. So I don't think that's a big kind of debate, if you will.
100%. And also what people need to remember, when you play, say, a 4-3-3, your wingers are also required to track back. It's not like wingers just do no defending at all. So, in some games they do, and that's when we concede most usually. When we've done that under Frank and, people haven't tracked back and whatever. And, Jose has had a go at that many times. Conte has recently been quoted to say the reason he changed Chelsea to a back 3/back 5 is because Pedro, Willian and Hazard didn't like tracking back. So he had to make sure there was wide defensive cover. To provide that, he had to change to a back 3, which is fair enough. And then we also have a super chat here by Mr. Werner's First Touch. Brilliant name. Saying Werner being in the team is like a peanut farmer whose kid has a peanut allergy. He's not a 9, he's not a winger, and his finishing is shocking. And the sad thing is, I don't even disagree. But I'll put the floor to you, Monster, before I get your thoughts on the wing backs. What are your thoughts on that comment? Obviously worded very harshly, but essentially it's not that wrong.
It's not that wrong. It is a bit harsh. I don't get me wrong. I'm not even going to sit here and make any excuses for Werner missing the chances he's missed, because he's missed quite a lot of chances, isn't it? The only thing whether we like it or not, Werner's going to be given another chance next season. I would just say, let's wait till the end of the season and next season to see if he performs or not. And then we can, and obviously by then we'll know whether he's going to be at Chelsea for the long run or not.
Exactly. And about the wing backs, do you agree? Chilwell and Hudson-Odoi, or would you pick Alonso?
No. As left wing back, definitely Chilwell. As right wing back, it depends on how Tuchel's going to go, because if Tuchel's going to go at them, then obviously it's going to be Callum Hudson-Odoi. Or if Tuchel wants to hit, hit them on a counter attack, then it's going to be Reece James. That's how he's played. That's how he's chosen these players based on their position. So I wouldn't be surprised if I see Reece James. I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah, I wouldn't be totally surprised either. Just thinking back at when I've last watched Leeds, I didn't do crazy in-depth analysis of them now, but I feel from what I remember of them, they go down the middle or the right. So they don't really use their left that much. They have Rafinha on the right. They play their quick football down the middle, aggressive. Either it's counter press or just direct to Bamford straight up, right? So I don't think their left is their certainly less dangerous side, unless I'm misjudging something here. Please, both of you, correct me if I'm wrong, or someone in the chat as well, obviously. But that kind of makes me think, just go with Callum. Just try to exploit them as much as we possibly can. And hey, if it does work from minute 1, we can change it to Reece James, and the game's long enough and they're bad enough defensively that we can still turn it around. Do you know what I mean? So I think I would personally probably go with Callum to start with. And I think it will work. And if it doesn't, we can still change it, if that makes sense. What would you say to that, Monster? Agree?
Yeah, I agree, man.
Exactly. And just because you need to head off in a couple of minutes, because, obviously the guys went to stream with Dammy in a minute as well. Let me just get you quickly through the rest of the team that you would like to see. Obviously, we touched on the wing backs. What about the midfield too? Mind you, Jorginho's, of course, suspended against Atletico Madrid. Kante didn't start the last one, but will definitely play the 490 against Atletico. So what do we do for the double pivot? Jorginho, Kovacic? Jorginho, Kante? Because Jorginho will start, let's be honest.
Yeah, this is where it gets confusing, because some people say, rest some certain guys and bring them on. Use them in an Atletico game, but then some people might argue, why not start them in this game so that they're fully up to it for the Atletico game? So it gets so confusing. Maybe I might start Kante and Jorginho. I would leave out Cover.
Okay, so you think Kante can handle playing 2 full games in a row?
Oh yeah, Kante actually hasn't played that many games this season. Remember, he had a big injury. Since Tuchel's come in, he actually hasn't played that many games. Mm-hmm. So I wouldn't mind starting Kante in this game and then bringing Cover off the bench at some point for maybe Kante as well in the second half. For
sure. It's just how Leeds play and how we need to make sure that their intensity, their press doesn't ruin us. That's what makes me think Kovacic and Jorginho might be best suited to playing against them, even though in terms of rotational purposes and that game's coming up, it might be best to go with what you just said, Kante and Jorginho. It's a tough one, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a tough one. All of them, the good thing about it is that all of them are performing this season. There's no one that's not really performing except in the front line. You could say Ziyech and Pulisic, we've not really seen much of, and not really performing right as of yet. But everyone else is performing, so there's not really a wrong or right answer in terms of who do we start and who we don't.
Yeah, no, for sure. And then I guess the back 3, goalkeeper, they're kind of set in stone. Thiago Silva isn't fit. You would presume Rudiger comes back into the side, even though Zuma did good against Everton, but obviously Leeds have more pace that suggests Rudiger even more. So Christensen has to start. Aspie will stay in the team. At some point, I'm wondering, does Aspie need a rest? Because Aspie is the oldest of all of them, of the centre backs here, and he plays every game. Does the guy need a rest at some point? I'm not suggesting tomorrow, but will that point come where he needs it?
None number one thing is he most of the beginning of the season or the first half of the season he didn't really play.
Yeah.
But if even when he's on the pitch, he's not doing too much that you would necessarily say he's burning himself out. If you get what I mean? He's not doing that much running and things like that. So I don't think he necessarily needs a rest in this game. No.
Yeah, no, that is fair. That is fair. And then the goalkeeper is, of course, Mendy, I presume. Yeah. There you go. There you go. Well, then, Monster, I really do appreciate you coming on. Me and Pice, guys, don't go anywhere. Me and Pice will continue having this chat for a while longer. But yeah, Monster, thanks for coming on. His link is down in the description. Make sure you subscribe to his channel. Brilliant content over there. And I'll talk to you soon, bro.
Yeah, thank you for having me on. Big up to you, Laurenz, and big up to Pies as well, man. Really appreciate you having me on, and hopefully I can be on soon, and hopefully I can have you on soon as well. I've not yet had you yet, but yeah, don't worry. I'll message you this weekend anyway. So
exactly, there you go.
Have fun.
Yeah, bro. So
perfect. Take care. Brilliant. So as we just let Monster run through it quickly, I will get back to you, Mr. CSC Pies. It's almost like it's a player ratings day, isn't it? Like we're just us having a little chat. It's a lovely time. I don't know. Ian Craigo, 28 Football, might join us soon. I don't know if you will. But let's see. Let's just continue. Obviously, with you gave your opinion on the wing backs already. I would tend to agree. I would always prefer Chile over Alonso anyway, even though Alonso actually had a good game against Everton. You and me spoke about that, and the player ratings surprisingly good in my books. Justice makes a fair point, but we'll get to that in a minute, Jester, don't worry, when we get back to that. But what do you think about the midfield too? Because like I said, Justice even made a good comment a minute ago as well, saying Kante will probably start, but only play first half or 60, and then Kovacic will come on, which would probably work. I wouldn't be totally opposed to it, shall we say. What do you reckon? What about the double pivot? Who would you play, and who do you think will play?
To be honest, I think it will be Jorginho and Kovacic, because Jorginho is not playing against Atletico, so I do think that it will probably be Kante. Well, it will be Kante Kova against Atletico, and then I think we've seen Kova can play multiple games on the bounce, so I think it will be Jorginho Kovacic, just because Jorginho does offer that ball over the top, very important for this game. Can do it consistently as well. You know, he done it so many times against Liverpool. We had so many chances getting the ball in behind, and over the top, and I just see that being a massive problem for Leeds, because Jorginho's over the top passing is fantastic when he's on it. So
and Kovacic played the ball for Havertz against Everton.
Yeah, exactly. Like Kovacic can do it. Like, I'm not saying Kante can't pass. You know, he played a good ball to Mount against Liverpool as well. But I'm just saying, you know, Jorginho and Kovacic have probably been two of our best players under Tuchel. Like, they've been very, very consistent as a pivot. So I don't see why you would play Kante in this game, because I think, I don't know, because I can see both points of view, because obviously Kante does suit a high intensity sort of, you know, if Leeds get the ball, kind of chasing them down, etc., winning tackles. But I think we'll have a lot of the ball, so I don't really see the need for Kante in this game. I think play Kante against Atletico, give us more defensive solidity, a bit more robustness, and tomorrow just go with Jorginho Kovacic, dominate the game and get the win.
Let me just make an argument to you. Do you think it's a case of if you start Kovacic and Jorginho, it's better to go with Reece at right wing back, and if you go with Callum, Kante should be in the midfield against a team like this?
Yeah, you could say that, but I don't know. I just see us dominating so much of the ball. Like, I've not yet seen us. I mean, apart from like, what game was it? Manchester United or I think it was Atletico, wasn't it? One of the games we didn't have like as much of the ball. I can't remember which one, but I just, it was.
And Liverpool.
Yeah,
Liverpool was the only game where in the end we had less than 50, and against United we had, I think, 53.
Yeah, I just see us dominating the ball against Leeds, so I would play Jorginho and Kovacic, but I can see your point about that. I want Hudson-Odoi to play, man. Like, I don't know. It could be risky going full out attack against them, but I mean, could it? Because we've got 3 centre backs, so
3 centre backs.
It's a hard one. It's a hard one to call, honestly. I would trust Hudson-Odoi to play alongside, you know, even with Jorginho and Kovacic, to be fair, just because he's got better at defending. Like, it's not like under Lampard where Lampard had his fair criticisms over him tracking back and stuff, because Hudson-Odoi didn't really track back at the start. He kind of developed that a little bit later on, and then under Tuchel, he's he's just been doing it so consistently. And also the thing with Tuchel is Hudson-Odoi now knows he's going to track back. He has to track back because Tuchel is ruthless. Like Lampard wasn't ruthless. Lampard would just wait till 70, 80 minutes with his arms folded. And what do I do? But with Tuchel, you do one thing wrong, you could be going off. So I think that's really good thing about Tuchel is the fact that he's so ruthless, and that's why we're playing so well, because no player wants to put a foot wrong. Even if they do come into the team, you have to play good. Otherwise, you ain't playing. It's as simple as that. He's very, very ruthless manager, and that's what it does take to get to the top. So I'm happy with it, to be fair.
To be fair, if there was one guy that Lampard was ruthless to, it is probably Hudson-Odoi. I mean, like, for example, when we played Werner away, and he was our best player probably on that day, and then he didn't even make the squads in the next Prem game. So if he was ruthless to anyone, it was probably Callum. But I definitely see your point. I mean, Jester's made a funny statement here. Watch it be Emerson, a left wing back. Who the hell knows with him? And just before we get to the centre backs, because there isn't much of a debate to be had, really, does Billy have a shout to start? Obviously, Billy Gilmour. Surprised no one expects. Not definitely no one would expect it, but I don't see it. And I've heard a lot of people talk about things like, should he have gone out on loan? And obviously now it looks like he should have done, but that's only because we don't have injuries. If Kante gets injured again, then we require Billy to be here. And that's why he didn't go out on loan. It's all well and good. Yeah, now that everyone's fit, it looks like he should have. But if we go back to a situation where in autumn, when Franco was here, and we have Ziyech out and Pulisic out, and we have Kante out, and we have this guy out and that guy out, and so many injuries, then you need your squad. And that's why in a situation like right now, our squad seems too big. Tuchel even said today in the press conference, our squad is the perfect size. Lampard was constantly crying it's way too big. And all the journalists keep talking on about it's way too big. The only place it's too big is having 3 left backs. Other than that, our squad isn't too big at all, in my opinion, especially now that Tomori left. I would even argue now that we play a back 3, having gotten rid of Tomori is not good, because when you play 3 centre-backs, you need 5, not just, well, I guess with Aspie you have 5. But when you play 3, it would be better to have 6 almost, including Aspie. But anyways, what do you think of that one? Billy, any chance or no? I don't think so, but...
No, absolutely zero chance. And that's kind of a shame for me to say, because I do really rate Billy. And as you said, it's easy for us to say now, he should have gone out on loan. But a few months ago, no one even we was debating about, with our fan base about, we should get a new manager. And we started kind of, drawing names out. But there was no real significant links until kind of the Athletic kind of got onto it. So at that stage of time, we had to keep Billy because we did have injuries. And to be honest, our other midfield options weren't playing that well. And people were saying, what can't Billy do that Jorginho can, and different things like that. So, I mean, I would like to see him play, but no, I don't think he's going to have any chance. He's not come off the bench at all. Don't even think
half the time he's not even in the squad.
Yeah, he's not even been named on the bench much. So,
and that's even though people forget that. Even though we don't have 5 subs in the Prem, we still have the bigger bench. We still have 9 subs compared to without obviously. Exactly. Global situation, usually we have 7. Now we have 9, and even then he doesn't make the squad. So now I get your point, Flyers. You need to rotate, but don't forget we changed 5 players between Liverpool and Everton. We are rotating. Just Billy ain't one of them, if that makes sense. Do you know what I mean? We rotate one of the DMs usually, and then the one gets a rest, and other one's left out. We rotate the 3 as a whole, if that makes sense. He played for the under-23s. I don't know when, but yeah. Billy will play the FA Cup. Yeah, I think so as well. I think Billy will play against Sheffield United in the FA Cup, probably. But I guess to the back 3, like I said, when discussing it with Monster a minute ago already, there's not really much of a debate, is there? Rudiger comes back in for Zuma, Christensen and Aspie, innit?
Yeah, it probably will be that. Is Silva back or not? I didn't check on the press conference.
Silva is not back. No, Silva is out injured, as is Tammy Abraham.
Yeah.
Silva actually had a setback in the injury, so now he's not in training anymore. Obviously, he was on the bench against Everton. Even warmed up when Zuma had that injury scare, but actually had a setback and now isn't in the squad at all.
Well, that's very disappointing to hear. Honestly, I love Silva, but to be honest, right now our centre backs are doing really well. So I don't want to say we don't miss Silva, because every team misses a world-class centre-back, whether you're not conceding or not. You just miss the influence of him. But, I mean, yeah, that probably will be the 3, Rudiger, Christensen and Aspie. Was impressed with Zuma the other day, to be fair, but obviously Rudiger looks like Tuchel's kind of ahead. Like, Tuchel kind of sees Rudiger as a bit of ahead of Zuma, but yeah, I mean, I'm happy with the three centre backs for sure.
Exactly. I mean, Carvin makes a fair point here. Leeds are bad in terms of defending set pieces. Zuma is obviously by far our biggest asset in that sense. And you make a good point there. I just think the main reasons Rudiger resting, but also a big reason why Zuma played against Everton is Everton's tactic of Pickford punting it long to the far right. That's why Alonso and Zuma played, because Calvert-Lewin drops out there and tries to win a header, and then they go for the second ball. We had Zuma and Alonso there, hence why we nullified that whole tactic completely, and they kind of even stopped trying in the second half. So I think that was one of the big reasons why Zuma played. You make a good point, but I think against Leeds, we'll have plenty of other opportunities to score goals, so I don't think we'll be too reliant on the set-piece goal scoring. And the fact that they have Rafinha, the fact that they have Bamford, who likes to drift left and right, come in the middle, and is quicker than people give him credit for in my books. I think having the extra pace that Rudiger provides compared to Zuma is in this game more suitable. And I said this before, and I said this even like on a stream a couple of days ago when we thought Thiago Silva was fit. I said I wouldn't start him against Leeds regardless. That's not the game to throw him in. We had the high intensity, the high pace. Christensen is in such good form. That's not where we need it, where it's required. In my opinion, would have been great. Maybe he still can, but would have been great for Atletico. That's when the super high experience is ideal. No nerves in a big game, Champions League and whatever. That's why I would have played him, regardless of whether he had minutes before or not. But tomorrow I wouldn't have played him even if he was fit, if that makes sense. And just to quickly mention it, because obviously it touched on the Aspie resting. Jester made a comment on that already earlier and said it again now. Makes a good point. Once Thiago is fit, Aspie will get a rest, because then Christensen will play right centre back. Not necessarily long term, but for the off game, that is probably what's going to happen. And like Melinda said, ladies and gentlemen, we still haven't hit 100 likes. We're close to it, 91 likes. But make sure you smash the like button right now. Go down below, smash it. It doesn't cost you any money. It doesn't cost you any time. And like I keep telling you, the like button, if you don't click it, it's like a boring grey colour. If you click it, it turns blue. And as you know, blue is the colour. So you have to smash that like button so it turns blue, because everything in life should be blue, in my opinion, other than Ferrari reds, obviously. But that's a whole different debate. I'm waffling now, but make sure you get subscribed as well. Obviously, we'll be back tomorrow for Player Ratings live stream. Myself and Pies and Jay will be here as well, Jay McIntosh. So we'll be here about 45-50 minutes after the final whistle. But I guess, obviously, Mendy is a definite one. He will start. And I guess after that, we should probably talk about the game as a whole. Obviously, we touched on a bit of Leeds, high intensity, high line, pressing, trying to play fast football, high intense football. How do you expect the game to go? Because last time out we played them, we battered them, but conceded 2-3 minutes in or whatever, with a silly mistake from a mix of, I don't even remember who. Zuma didn't look great, Thiago Silva didn't look great, and whoever was at right back that game, probably Reece James then, all didn't look specifically brilliant, even though it was a great through ball by, I think, Calvin Phillips. But other than that, early goal, how do you reckon the game will go?
I think we'll try and put them on the back foot from the front, from the start. As soon as the game goes, I think we'll control possession. Be interesting to see, it's hard really to kind of give you a summary of how I think the game will go without knowing the lineup, because obviously we need to know the forwards and the midfield and stuff. But I do think we will try and put them on the back foot, try and create chances, of course. And I just think try and keep the ball, try and create overloads down wide, try and get them in 2v1 situations where they don't like defending. Just make it really uncomfortable for them. I think that's what we should do. Don't give them respect just because, they are a good side on the ball. Don't give them any respect because they're at home. The one thing I do worry about a little bit is, I don't know about you, but whenever we get early kickoff, sometimes I think, the player's going to be, tired or not quite, on the ball sort of thing. I just hope that doesn't play a part. I mean, it shouldn't in reality because, they get a good night's sleep and stuff. But, sometimes I do worry about the early kickoffs. I just hope we handle the job well and we're up for it. I want us to be on the ball. Don't make this a game where we, fall behind and then make it hard for ourselves. Just play how we've been playing. Just, you know what I mean? Just don't have any mess ups, basically. Don't make this the game
before Southampton, and that's also what we dropped.
Exactly. So, we've got Atletico next. Don't go into that game with a loss or a draw against Leeds. Just win this game, keep the confidence going. Just don't make any mess ups. There's no need to. It's not like we're playing a massive team. Just put them to the sword, as my old football manager would say.
Yeah, no, exactly. And Flyers, no, they definitely travel today, not tomorrow. That's why the press conference was so early as well. But Flyers, first of all, are you telling me Mercedes don't favour Hamilton or Red Bull don't favour Verstappen? I don't even know if you care at all about F1 pies, but regardless, I had to just mention that because that's a load of waffle. Any which way, I agree with you. I definitely agree with you what you said. We need to just make it difficult for them. We don't necessarily need to outrun them, even though someone in the chat earlier said already, like, but Tuchel's football is also to run a lot, sure, but not run like Leeds a lot. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's a bit different. And run with more purpose. And we did run with purpose against Leeds, don't get me wrong, but it cost us in the games after. Obviously, there's no proof and there's no evidence to actually say because we ran so much against Leeds, that's why our form dropped. Not at all. But it's maybe just a weird coincidence. Who knows? But at the end of the day, early kickoff or not, let's hope we get the dub. Let's absolutely hope we get the dub. That's all that really matters. And I like to do, obviously not the whole like play predictor thing, but let's get to score predictions and also tell me, Pies, who do you think will be our first goal scorer?
That's going to be very interesting. I think, you know what? I'm going to go with Havertz if he starts. I'm going to go with Havertz as first goal scorer. And final score, see, it's hard to know if we're going to concede or not because, you know what? I'm going to be confident. I'm going to go with 2-0 Chelsea.
Fair enough. Let me just trying to go back to a question that I saw earlier, which I kind of wanted to touch on, but I kind of missed it now. Anyways, my score prediction. I mean, I know you're confident, but I'm going to go even more confident. I'm going to say 4-0. I'm going to say we finally get some goals. I'm tempted to say 3-0, but I kind of want to talk it into existence and then hope at least the 3 happens.
Werner hat-trick again, Laurenz. Werner hat-trick.
Come on. Yeah, Werner hat-trick. That's exactly
Werner
it. I don't know. I'm tempted to also say 4-1 because it wouldn't totally surprise me if Leeds were one of the teams that get a goal against us. Also, the early kickoff thing. I don't know. You know what? I'm going to say 4-1. I'm going to say 4-1. Why the hell not? Let me go with that. And in terms of first goal scorer, it's either Jorginho and it's a penalty or it's Havertz, I reckon. One of those two. I'm banking on one of those two. I'm going to go with Kai Havertz. And a question that, again, I couldn't find it anymore in the chat, but someone asked, do you think Pulisic's better as a winger or as a 10/false 9? What are your opinion on that?
Pulisic, for me, a winger when he's best fully fit, just because of his dribbles and the way he cuts inside and just very good 1v1. To be honest, I've not really seen him much as a false 9. I know he plays as a number 10 sometimes for United States, but I think left wing for Pulisic is his best position. Right wing is not as good. I mean, we saw that with Lampard and also
at Dortmund.
Yeah, at Dortmund. That's what I was going to say. He played there a lot under Tuchel at Dortmund, which is why I'm thinking, is he ever actually going to play left wing under Tuchel? I think he's just going to be on the right the whole time, which personally I don't really like. I like him on the left. Who
was the Dortmund manager after Tuchel? Did they straight go for Bosch after him? Do you know?
I'm not quite sure on that one.
I mean, apparently he played a false 9 there. I don't know.
Yeah,
was that after Aubameyang left? Because they didn't sign a replacement for Aubameyang? Because that was the whole debate, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Because Aubameyang left and they didn't replace him in that.
Yeah.
But I don't know if what Jester said here is true. Like I think he can do a great job as a 10 because, like I said, the dribbles great, but because he's confident going left and right, and it depends on who plays the 10. I'm not saying I want him to play as a 10 over, say, Kai, right? Not at all saying that. But I think he could be more influential in terms of more goal involvements as a 10 than he could as a winger. But he's also better than all of our other actual wingers. So that's why I would still prefer him to play on the left or on the wing, even though I think he might be more influential as a 10. But again, not more than Kai. Do you get where I'm coming from?
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting when you talk about the 10s because when I talk about a 10, associate a 10, I associate that with like in a 4-2-3-1 when you have the lone 10, just behind the striker. But I think with us, it's kind of left forward, right forward. They're not really left wing, right wing because they're not that wide. They kind of
in that system for sure.
Yeah. In the system we're playing, so I think if Havertz plays on left or right, it's obviously left forward, right forward. But they kind of do act like 10s. I kind of get what you mean because they are so close to the striker.
No, I was actually thinking in terms of a proper central 10 in, for example, a 4-2-3-1. In our current system, if you want to call those 10s, then sure, as a left 10, left forward. It's not even a real winger role. It's kind of a mixed role that's probably the best suited to him, to be honest. Like, if we're going to be totally honest, that left side in our current system is probably where Pulisic would thrive the most. Because kind of this mix of a 10 and a winger.
Yeah, for sure. I would definitely, if I was manager, I'd be playing Pulisic like left forward when he does start, 100%. But
exactly,
I mean, it's so hard to start him at the moment, isn't it? Because we've just got other players. And I don't know what's going to happen with him, to be honest.
He wouldn't work as a wing back. No, he definitely wouldn't work as a wing back, especially as a left wing back. Total nonsense. And no, that was definitely somewhere between Tuchel and Favre, for sure. Like Bosch, the current Leverkusen manager, he was Dortmund manager between, but they had another manager between that. I just don't know if he was before or after Bosch, if that makes sense. Regardless. Enough waffle. We gave our score predictions. We gave our first goal scorers. I think the last thing we should probably touch on is, well, if this goes well, how do we reckon it goes from here? Obviously, there's a few other big games this weekend, Spurs, Arsenal, whatever. It could really put us into a good stride. West Ham, Manchester United, West Ham in great form. One of them will drop points, if not both, which would be great. Obviously, West Ham without Jesse Lingard at the moment are probably not quite as good as they are with him. So you'd probably still favour Man United. But if that goes our way, we could really, with a dub tomorrow morning, hopefully, or tomorrow midday, could really make big strides towards securing top 4 even more. Not securing it in terms of, we're done now, but in terms of taking another big step in terms of making it more and more likely.
For sure. I think if we win this game and then obviously, get through against Atletico would be massive. Like, obviously, everyone's going to be talking about that game. I'm not sure what's going to happen. I hope we just control the game and see it out. But I think in terms of our next few Premier League games, they're all winnable. 100% Leeds, Palace, West Brom. I think we've got who else have we got? A few other teams that are beatable.
Yeah, we've got West Ham at some point, which never looks
that
big
is the game.
When you read the fixtures, but it will be big.
Yeah, that for me is a massive game because traditionally at London Stadium we don't do very well. So that will be a very, very interesting game with the form that West Ham are on. But I just see so much positivity and confidence in the side right now. I don't want to jinx it, of course, and we go on a losing streak because it can happen to any team. But I just think just end the season out. We've got enough quality to win, to get top 4. We had enough quality this season to challenge for the league. The problem was that, one, we didn't have a very experienced manager, and 2, we kind of just signed so many players that they didn't all gel in, blend in perfectly, which is what we hoped. So I think next season will be much better now that, Havertz, Werner, other players have got 1 year in the bank. But I just think the main goal, obviously, just get top 4, win the next few games, even if they're 1-2-0. I don't care. I just want top 4. And as I've been saying to you, I don't have a problem with these 1 and 2-0 because personally, I don't know about you, but I like the way we're playing. I like the way that we dominate games. I like the way that, we pass the ball and we counter press. I like all of that. So for me, I'm in love with Tuchel. I really am.
For sure. And the 1 and 2-0 is not like we should actually be playing 1 and 2-0. We play as if we were winning 3-4-5 every game, but we don't take the chances. So it's just a case of take chances and keep playing like we are, and we'll get huge jobs left, right, and centre. MXC keeps talking about Ziyech playing. I think if there is one game where I wouldn't mind Ziyech playing, it's probably Atletico, because he is probably the player other than Kai Havertz to unlock a deep defence, especially with Mason suspended anyway. But Leeds ain't it for Ziyech. He's already triggering me with his laziness. I definitely don't want to see him against Leeds. To be honest, he did play well in that game against Leeds under Frank. Fair play. And he should have had about 5 assists, but Werner exists. But not for me tomorrow. Absolutely not for me tomorrow. And I don't know. It's the next 6 games. Obviously, 5 of those are very winnable, and then there's West Ham in there. And let's be honest, even though we struggle at London Stadium all the time, but in terms of comparing squads, should be very winnable as well. If we actually even say we don't get 18, but we get 16 points from those games, which is very realistic. Like, let's not kid ourselves. It is realistic for us from the next 6 games to get 16 points. Whether it's dropping 2 points in a game where we don't expect it, or whether it's against West Ham, right? It's realistic. I know we have a rather tough last 4. Obviously, we have Leicester, Arsenal, City, Villa. I don't know whether that's the order, but something like that. Maybe it's City, Villa, Arsenal, but one of them anyway. But we could be near close to already done with top 4 by the time we get to those 4 games. I know that's still 12 points to play, but if we do things right, we could be comfortably second by that point already. So, you know, there's a lot of things that, you know, we can finish the season undefeated. We can, but let's not aim too high. We're still playing Man City. We're still playing Leicester. We always struggle against Arsenal for some reason. Leicester at the bridge, fair enough, but still. But hey, you know, at the end of the day, I'm just excited for tomorrow's game. You kind of reminded me of this early kickoff voodoo that we have, so now I'm less excited. Cheers for that, mate. But hey, you know, at the end of the day, I'm looking forward to it regardless. You know, things that have gone so well at Chelsea, 11 unbeaten, only 2 goals conceded. Ideally, that stays that way, and we just finally get more than 2 in a game, because so far in the Tuchel, we haven't scored more than 2 goals in any game, even though we've most certainly had the bloody chance to do so, and VAR had a thing or two to say about it as well, particularly against Everton, obviously. But hey, no matter what, upwards and onwards, we'll get the dub tomorrow, hopefully. Fingers crossed, touch wood and everything. I really do appreciate every single one of you that has tuned in. We're going to leave it here. Like I said, subscribe if you haven't already. That'd be brilliant. I haven't yet added CFC Pice's link to the description to his Twitter, but just type into the Twitter search bar CFC Pice, like his name says it there. Just add CFC before that, and follow him. That'd be massively appreciated. Like the video, like this live stream, whether you're watching this right now or later on. Do that, massively appreciated. Become a member if you fancy that. There's a join button if you're on desktop, or there's a link in the description if you're on your phone, or you can become a member if you want to do that. And yeah, thank you guys for watching. Really do appreciate it. Thank you, Pice, for coming on. Obviously, big shout out to Monster as well. But yeah, thank you guys for watching. Up to Chelsea, and we'll see you next time, but also tomorrow for the Player Reddit live stream. So definitely subscribe and click the notification bell button so you don't miss that. But yeah, thanks for watching. Up to Chelsea, and I'll see you next time.